The garden section of a Lowe's in Raleigh smells like fertilizer and cold concrete. It's 11:07 p.m. on a Friday. The automatic sprinkler system ticks on somewhere near the back, wetting down a row of shrubs nobody is going to buy tonight. An employee in an orange vest is stacking bags of cedar mulch onto a flatbed cart, slowly, with the energy of a man counting down the last 40 minutes of his shift. He doesn't look at you. You don't have a cart, you don't have a basket, you're not buying anything. You just needed to be somewhere with other people, and somehow this is what you chose. The email came at 4:44 p.m. 4 sentences, subject line, partnership review. The client thanked you for the work, said they were moving in a different direction, said they valued the relationship. The last line was about wishing you well in future endeavors, which is the sentence people write when they are trying very hard to sound like they care. They don't have to care. That's not a rule. But 4 sentences for 3 years of work still lands somewhere specific in your chest, and it lands there whether you want it to or not. You had been billing them $14,000 a month for 37 months. You do not need a calculator to know what that number is. You already know. You knew the second you read the email, before you even closed your laptop. It sat in your stomach for 6 hours before you drove here. Here's the part you don't say out loud to anyone. That client was 61% of your revenue. Has been for the better part of 2 years. You knew that was too much. Every quarter you looked at the spreadsheet and saw that number and thought, I need to fix this ratio. And then they'd send a referral, or expand the scope, or just keep being the kind of client who pays on time without a single late invoice in 3 years, and you'd think, okay, but not yet. Not yet. Not yet is a tax you pay eventually. It started 3.5 years before this in a shared co-working space in Raleigh where the coffee was bad and the Wi-Fi was worse, and you had just left a marketing agency after 4 years of building other people's brands for a salary that felt like a ceiling you couldn't stop touching with the top of your head. 2 clients. One was a local restaurant group. One was your cousin's landscaping company, which you billed at a discount you told yourself was temporary and never changed. Your first real client came from a conference in Durham you almost didn't attend. A woman named Joelle, operations director at a mid-sized SaaS company, stood next to you in the coffee line and spent 6 minutes complaining about her current agency. You listened. You asked one question. She asked for your card. You didn't have cards. You typed your number directly into her contacts while she watched. She called the following Tuesday. By Thursday, you had a signed contract. $4,500 a month. You sat in your car in the parking garage after the call and said something out loud, to yourself, to nobody, and then you started the engine and drove home. Joelle's company wasn't the anchor, but Joelle introduced you 18 months later to a director at a regional logistics firm out of Charlotte. The logistics firm became the anchor, $8,000 a month to start, expanded to $14,000 within the year. Scope kept growing, so did the comfort. The mechanics of what you built over those 3 years are not interesting enough for a business profile, which is why nobody wrote one. You ran lean. One contractor, a woman named Brianna, 34, who wore the same black cardigan to every video call and delivered work 3 days before every deadline without exception, no office. A standing desk in the second bedroom. A whiteboard covered in client frameworks that you photographed every few months, erased, and rebuilt. Revenue at the end of year 2, $31,000 a month gross. Expenses, $8,400. The numbers worked. The numbers worked so well that you stopped looking at them quite as carefully as you should have. You had a standing meeting every other month with your accountant, a deliberate man named Gary, who kept every piece of paper anyone had ever given him in labeled manila folders, and once spent 4 minutes explaining why he preferred a particular brand of ballpoint pen. He told you in March, and then again in August, that your client concentration was a documented business risk. Both times you nodded, both times you said you were working on it, both times you were not working on it. Gary is the kind of man who does not say I told you so. He'll call Monday and he won't say it, and somehow that will be worse. There is a version of this story where tonight is a crisis, where you sit in the parking lot doing math, and the math says the business fails in 4 months, and you drive home and make decisions born entirely out of fear. That's not this. The math says 7 months of operating expenses in the business account, 4 remaining clients billing $13,000 combined. You are fine in the specific technical sense of fine, which means not immediately in danger. You know that. What you are not is fine in the way that's harder to name. The way that has to do with the fact that you spent 3 years building something, and tonight it is measurably, definitively smaller than it was this morning. And nobody knows yet. Brianna doesn't know. Gary doesn't know until Monday. Your partner asked at dinner how your day was, and you said fine, because it was 6 p.m. and the email was 2 hours old and you hadn't figured out what shape to put it in yet. So you drove here. Here's the thing about a Lowe's at 11 p.m. Nobody wants anything from you. Nobody is calculating what your business is worth, or whether the thing you've built is still impressive or just a little less impressive than it was this morning. The employee with the cedar mulch does not care about your client concentration. The overhead lights don't ask follow-up questions. You can just be a person standing in a fertilizer aisle on a Friday night for no reason, and that is enough. Right now, that is exactly enough. You don't build a business because you know what you're doing. You build it because you start, and then you keep going through the parts where you don't know what you're doing, and the knowing comes from the going. Not the other way around. That's not inspiration. That's just the actual sequence. You're in the part of the sequence where something broke and you have to figure out what's next. You've been in this part before. You'll be in it again. You just need tonight first. You pull out your phone, not to email anyone, not to check LinkedIn. You open the Notes app and write one line. Asterisk Monday, call 2 prospects, call Gary, full client list review. Asterisk, you lock the phone and put it back in your pocket. The employee finishes the mulch. He glances at you once briefly with the expression of someone confirming that yes, you're still here, and yes, that's fine, and moves on. You walk the long way out. Past the indoor plants, past a display of work gloves arranged by size, past a wall of 200 paint samples, all technically called white, each with a name designed to help you choose, each somehow making it harder. You push through the door. The night air is cold and still. The parking lot is almost empty. Your car is under the third light. You drive home. You don't fix anything tonight. Don't solve anything. You just drive home and walk in and wash the glass that's been in the sink since Tuesday and go to bed. Monday exists. You'll get there. That's the whole job.